I'm Aliya de Grazio with Small Planet Big Plans. Stay tuned because Taped with Rabbi Doug is next.
We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug on your TV tonight.
But Daddy, I want to watch Monday Night Football.
Forget about Monday Night Football. There's no other thing we're going to watch on Monday but Rabbi Doug.
Yeah, Rabbi Doug on TV tonight. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. Oh, everybody talk about Doug.
Shalom and welcome to Taped with Rabbi Doug. Glad you could be with us today. My guest today is Aliya de Grazio. She is someone that I recently met, and she was telling me about what she does, and it is just amazing. She is part of a project called Small Planet Big Plans, which formally began in 2010 on a website launched in suburban Chicago, and it started when a young student in a small village in Kenya asked for help to get a sweater. Since then, 18 other students have reached out for support in their education, while the entire village there in Africa has struggled to simply survive. And Aliya, it's amazing what you're doing, but tell us how you got involved and where is this small village in Africa?
All right, well, the small village is called Mulot, and it is in the Rift Valley near the Mara River. It's in a very dry area of Kenya. I arrived there in May of 2010.
Now hold on a second. Let me find out. How old were you when you arrived there?
I was 19.
So you were right out of high school, pretty much.
Right out of high school, yes.
All right, so let me come back and start like this. How did your parents let you go to Kenya? How did you know what you were doing going to Kenya? And what is a Jewish girl doing in Kenya?
Well, first of all, I had no idea what I was doing in Kenya. That's the first thing. What happened was, when I graduated from high school, I'd grown up.
Tell people you went to Stevenson High School.
I went to Stevenson High School, and I grew up in a very affluent Jewish community. I had a great childhood there. I had a great high school experience, and within the community, values of helping others were instilled within me. So after I graduated, I decided that rather than go right to school, I wanted to spend time helping other people. I wanted to spend a year doing something larger than myself. So I looked around for programs, and I thought briefly of going to a program called the AmeriCorps, which would have kept me within the United States and done volunteering through that. But the program seemed slightly overwhelmed that year because so many other people wanted to volunteer. So I did what any good American teen would do, and I hit the internet. And I typed in grassroots volunteering, and up came this organization called Volunteering with Communities in Development Kenya. And they said, they had a program called Teaching in Messiah Land, and you signed up, and they set up a program. They found you a place to go, and you got to go live in Messiah Land for however long you wanted, and work with kids and do what you could.
Did Small Planet Big Plans begin before you went or after you went on this visit?
After I'd been there. The program with Volunteering with Communities in Development Kenya, it's a very loose program. It was very new. So more what they did was send people out to a place that wanted to volunteer, and you could develop your own program. And at first I went there thinking I would teach English. And upon arriving, the kids could speak to me in English, so I realized they had wonderful teachers there. They didn't need me to do that. So then my program turned more into peer guidance and counseling. I'd had experience with that at Stevenson. I did a lot of counseling at school, so I thought, well, that's what I'll do with the kids. But when the students started coming to me, the issues they came to me with weren't the issues of relationships, parents, school, the things I was used to dealing with. They were things of, I don't have enough money for my school uniform, and it's covered in holes, or I can't pay my tuition this semester, and they're going to kick me out of the school, and I have no idea where I'll go. There were issues of, I don't have enough to eat. I don't know. I've left my family behind. They were just terrible things I couldn't even comprehend growing up how I had. So one day, a girl came to me asking for money for a sweater, which is said before, and it was only 50 shillings, which is not even $1 here. So I bought her a sweater. And then kids started coming to me asking for help with other things. They needed bed clothing, they needed mattress. And then eventually one day, someone came to me asking for their tuition. They wanted a semester. They wanted help. They wanted someone to sponsor them for a semester of school. And from there,
How old was this person?
I believe this girl was about 12. So things sort of snowballed from there. And I went online and I asked people for help, and the response was overwhelming. People started sending in money, what can I do? How can I help? So within a couple days, we had enough money to pay for this girl's tuition for the semester. So I went to the headmaster of the school, and, I very excitedly had my $100 to show him, and he asked me to come back the next day. And when I did, it turned out that the school had amassed over 150,000 Kenyan shillings of debt. Off the top of my head, I can't remember exactly how much, but that's about 8,000 American dollars, I think. But it was a massive amount of debt to be in, particularly for a private school. It turned out the school had this debt because they had taken on, at the time there were about 11 orphans in the school who were just extremely bright kids whose parents had died in accidents, who'd been murdered in the 2008 political violence, who had just been separated, and they were just desperate to stay in school. So the school had been keeping them on, and the priest who ran the mission, Father Patrick, had been paying as much as he could, and the school had just been working its way into debt because the people just couldn't bear the thought of sending these children home. So I said, all right, well, maybe I could raise that money. And I think that's when Small Planet really began. It's when I got online, and it started with a PayPal account, and people started wanting to send in money.
So did you do this from Kenya? Did you set this all up in Kenya online? Or did you come back first?
No. I was in Kenya the whole time. I called my father, and I'm computer illiterate. I would rather use a dictionary than the internet. So I called my father, who's very good at it, and he's the one who started setting up PayPal, doing things back stateside, talking to people.
So who's your partner in the States while you were working with them hands-on in Kenya?
Exactly. Which is really how I prefer it, because I love working with the kids and being there. And he called me one day and was like, Aliya, we are having an overwhelming response here. People really want to help. And after a while, we started amassing a lot of money, and we were really getting enough to cover these children's debt. One of the bigger problems in Mulot, though, at the same time I started to realizing, was it's impossible to keep clean. One of my biggest complaints living on the mission was that I couldn't take a shower. The way everyone in the village would, keep clean, take a shower, was you would take a bucket of water, and then you would heat it up on your little charcoal grill you call the G-Co. Then you'd heat it to boiling, mix it with some cold water, mix it all up, and then you'd take it somewhere private, and that's how you would pour it on yourself. Yes. So we called it a bucket shower, and I hated them. I despised them. So I always joked with the priest, Father Patrick, when are you going to get plumbing? What are you going to do? Because, also we had latrines. There wasn't any plumbing underground. It was very uncomfortable,
I'm sure,
for someone who grew up in the area I grew up in. So I started talking to Father Patrick, what would it take to create a shower system here? And he let me in on a problem that I had no idea existed. It turned out that there's absolutely no clean water in this village.
So any river or stream water, if there is any, is all polluted?
It's all polluted. There is a river called the Mara River, or the Imala, depending on how old your map is, and it's incredibly polluted. It's been polluted by overuse, animals. People do it for everything. They do their wash, their clothes, they cook with it. It's become very dirty. It's full of things like cholera, typhoid, amoebosis. So that's what everyone was drinking from, except for the mission, which luckily had by divine providence, as the priest often said, had a small spring that was rapidly drying up. So he was worried that the kids were going to have to start drinking from it. So as we were talking about it, as he was letting me in on it, he told me that 80 meters underground, there is actually clean water on the mission. It was just a lucky coincidence.
And no way to really tap it at that moment.
But no way to get to it at the moment. 10 years ago, they had dug a borehole, which is sort of like a well, but there was no way to get it out. So Father Patrick and I started discussing how we would build a pump and a generator for the pump so that this clean water would always be accessible for the kids on the mission. But he's a big dreamer, and I'm a big dreamer. So the project started to expand later, because one day he walked me over to the public school next door, called Kirusu, and the public school has absolutely no water. And this is sort of a hard thing for a lot of Americans to grasp.
Couldn't even imagine.
Yeah, they don't have anything underground. They aren't near any water sources. It's literally the school's on a dry patch of dirt. I have a picture over here. This is a picture of the public school. So as you can see, it's a shack we wouldn't even think of keeping animals in here in the United States. And it's built on a dry patch of ground. It's the school to, I think, 700 children at the time. And how they handled this water issue was they would send these kids out with little jars or basins, and they would send them to go collect this dirty water and bring it back. One of the problems with that was, besides that the kids were getting typhoid, which is a disease that kills people, they were just not bothering to come to school because they were missing hours of school each day, they were failing their exams, they weren't going to get into better schools, so what was the point? So the school was failing and losing a lot of its funding from the government, which means it could be even worse than this. So we decided that if we were able to get the water and build the pump and build the generator, and the public school could maybe raise some funds, we would pipe our clean, fresh water to this school, yes. And then that would allow these kids to stay at school all day and not get sick all the time the way they were.
This is a big mission for a 20-year-old girl.
Well, it's not done yet. So then as we were discussing that, we started thinking about the town at large, or the village at large, because in Mulot alone, over 20 cases of typhoid are reported a month. And that's just the people who have enough money to come to the dispensary and buy the medicine that's needed. That costs about 500 shillings, which is an astronomical sum for many, many Kenyans. So who knows, it could be as much as 50 people a month, we just weren't aware. So we started thinking, what could we do to alleviate that problem? Father Patrick and I developed a plan where we would, as well as the generator and the pump and the extra piping for the school, we could build huge 100,000 liter tanks. And this would be able to store enough water that we could give it to the village at large. But the problem is we didn't want to upset the economy of the village, because a lot of the Kenyan mamas, as they're called, the older women supporting their families.
Sell water.
Yes, they sell water.
Sure.
They would go down to the river and they would sell the water to the restaurants or the other people who didn't want to carry it. So we thought, well, we'll hire those same women to sell our clean water at a reduced price. And that way, not only will we not disrupt the economy, we'll alleviate the typhoid problem, as well as create a small fund for ourselves in case something breaks, so pipe bursts, and that way the project remains sustainable for the village and can continue even after we're gone.
Now you're talking about you and him. How many other Americans or affluent people per se are there working with you and him on projects such as this?
Well, there's my father.
Yes.
So he's been an amazing help. My whole family really has been helpful.
So there aren't people from around the country volunteering out there beside you?
No. Small Planet Big Plans is actually one of the only non-for-profit organizations that works in the Rift Valley. Before we started the non-for-profit and started designing this project, I reached out to other larger organizations to ask for help, and what they told me was...
We're overwhelmed with the places we're supporting already.
Yeah, they were overwhelmed.
I could guess it.
One of the problems with the Rift Valley is it's extra dry. The water's deeper and the ground is harder, so many places won't even bother in the Rift Valley. The need is so great in so many other places that they can't work there.
So you are like a godsend to them. You're amazing. And here you are at such a young age doing this. Mm-hmm. Is there an outcome? Has it been built? Is there water there for them? What is happening now?
Well, what's happening now is we were able to raise last year $13,000, and that was enough to build the generator as well as the pump. So the water is coming out of the ground now. Unbeknownst to us, we had no idea when we started, but we opened the largest borehole in the district, which means we have more water than anybody else. So once the word got out, people started coming from 20 miles, 25, 30 miles.
Do you have people trying to steal?
No.
That's amazing.
We've been very lucky that way. We're also very free with our water. Mm-hmm. So it's very hard to tell someone no when they're thirsty or
stinky.
Yes.
Whatever the case might be.
Oh yeah. So one of the greatest things though is now that this is opened, we have our Catholic mission school as well as the public school. So now any child going to school has the ability to come take this water. So now I'm not as popular in the village anymore because now the parents make the kids go to school. So that
Very
they'll
interesting.
bring water.
So tell me this. So this Catholic mission was there, and you came and volunteered and got involved with them. Did Catholic Charities donate something to this mission to get that started there, or was this something that was there ongoing for a long time?
The mission began in the early 1940s when missionary work really became a big deal in Africa. And it's a good mission by African standards, but as far as I know, there weren't really any Catholic organizations helping out. There weren't really many other churches helping out.
Tell me, when you looked them up on the internet and you found this town, who listed them on the internet? Who were the ones that actually connected you up with them?
Oh, nobody.
Nobody did.
The Volunteering with Communities in Development Kenya
Right.
sent me there.
So they have a connection of some sort?
Yeah, they were friends with the priest.
Okay.
But-
That was kind of my asking the connection.
Yeah. But before Small Planet Big Plans,
Nobody offered?
And you couldn't find Mulot on a map. There's no way you could have found it on the internet. It was, as my father said, the only place on earth Google Maps couldn't find. He said there was this new definition of remote.
All right, so let me come back and ask you another question, which is an important question for you as an individual. You have put aside college. You'll probably get college credit for this of some sort along the way, but if you leave there, are they ready to be self-sufficient for you to go away to school, or do you think you got to be there a lot longer before you make that move? Because you are going back there, right?
Yes. I go back there in a couple weeks. I moved to Nairobi permanently because there is an American accredited university there that I can attend. But one of the great, beautiful things about this project is its sustainability because of the fund that will be created when we sell the water. One of the biggest problems in Africa or the developing world really is that people with great ideals come in and they dig a well or they build a building. They do something great and then they leave. And they don't teach anybody how to take care of it. They don't leave any money in case something breaks. So a church might come in, dig a well, 4 years later a pipe bursts, and the people in the village don't know what to do. And then, you come back 10 years later and everyone's like, oh, well, these people can't take care of anything. The great thing about our project is by selling our water, we create an emergency fund so that the project and the well can be sustained even after I'm gone. Although I don't really think I'll ever be gone. It really is a second home to me. I love the people there so much. I love the kids so much. I go visit them on the weekends whenever I can.
How far away is Nairobi from where you are?
About 3 hours.
3 hours traveling. This is just amazing. I want our viewers to take a look at it. They're Mulot, right?
Mulot, yes.
Mulot. I want them to take a look at Mulot in its close-up stages with the people and the school and the mission and everything there. So we're going to show you a short piece from Mulot here. I'm here with Aliya de Grazio, and she's just amazing. She is from Small Planet Big Plans, SPBP, and come with us into Africa in Mulot.
Atawe,
10 meters committee for water.
And you're watching Taped with Rabbi Doug.
Welcome back. I'm here with Aliya de Grazio. She is part of Small Planet, Big Plans, SPBP, which is a non-for-profit organization which is assisting people in Mulot, which is a town in Africa, and it's just amazing what you're doing. Can you tell me, is your name well known from everybody in that town now? Does everybody know you? Are you like a celebrity as far as they go? I mean, obviously they don't have televisions. They're not, there's no cable TV running there, so they're watching TV from around the world. So, I would suppose any regular visitor is sort of like a celebrity. Is that kind of how they treat you?
Yes, a little bit. When I first arrived, I was stared at a lot because I really was the only white American they'd seen for generations there. But nowadays, particularly as the well has increased, I am known as one of the people who brought it. And whenever I'm on the mission, I get, Aliya, hi Aliya, So I am pretty well known. But it's also because the people there are so friendly and loving and warm that I was really embraced by the community at large. In Kenya, it's sort of everybody wants to be your best friend, wants to be your cousin, your brother, your sister. Everybody wants to be close to you. So even if you don't know someone on a very intimate level, they still treat you like they're just like, oh, hello, come over for dinner, it's great. I used to joke that the African mamas are a lot like Jewish mamas, in that you can't walk by a house without having to come in. You have to eat a meal. You have to, tell about your life. You have to promise to come back.
Do most of them speak English, the adults too?
Yes. In Kenya, the two legal official languages are Swahili and English. So most people do speak English.
That's great. That's great. Do you miss being home for holidays? I mean, family and holidays are so important, especially in America, in Jewish homes. People want to be together with their family for the holidays, Hanukkah, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Thanksgiving, whatever the case might be, whatever holiday, whatever religion, people want to be home with their families. Are you lonely, or you don't travel up and back for every holiday, do you?
No, I don't.
It's certainly too expensive and too much of a drain.
I actually I have a great story about that. Last year, I was in Kenya for Rosh Hashanah, and on the day of Rosh Hashanah, I was so sad. I really missed home. I missed my family. I realized what I was missing. And I went into a Kenyan mama's house, and I told her about it, and I was sad. And then she disappeared somewhere. And other people started asking me about it and talking to me about it. The whole thing just made me sadder and sadder as I kept talking about what I was missing, until I went to the priest's house, and the woman, Mama Michelle is her name, came in, and she had brought me apples and honey and bread and candles, and they had me, make a Jewish meal, and they wanted to celebrate with me.
Oh, that's so wonderful.
It was really great.
That's so wonderful, and I'm sure that your family was thrilled too. I'm so happy to be rabbi for part of your family, which is how I met you, and to get to know you. This is just an amazing thing that you're doing. Have you had the opportunity, because I happen to kind of be a little bit of a buff on these things, to visit some of the small Jewish communities and synagogues in Africa? Because there are some isolated communities, as you know.
There is a synagogue in Nairobi that I haven't had a chance to go to yet, because they have a very, very high security there. So, you have to send a couple emails back and forth with the rabbi.
Sure.
But I have been to other Jewish communities and been with some of the other Jewish people in the area. one woman, I walked into her house. I had no idea she was Jewish. She had no idea I was Jewish. And I saw a menorah on her wall.
Oh, how cool.
Oh my God, I freaked out.
How cool. How cool.
So I have had a chance to make that connection.
That's great.
And it's been really wonderful.
That's great. Well, I want to thank you, and I want to thank your dad for all you guys have done. And this is just really an amazing thing. Before we go, just for the last couple of minutes, I want to take a look at some of these pictures that you have here. There's a picture of a boy that you showed me before we started. Oh, this is him.
Yes.
This little boy right here. And tell me about the shirt that you have right here.
Let me grab it right now.
Sure.
Well, this little boy is Peter. I met him out in the Loita Highlands, which is even more remote than where I was living. And he had walked 30 kilometers through the jungle to meet me. And then here, this is the shirt I met him in. We'll explain that in a second. Peter was 11 years old, and he came to me one day and said, Aliya, I have something very serious I want to talk to you about. And then I tried not to laugh because, you know, what very serious thing does an 11-year-old have to say? But he came to me and he said, Aliya, I want you to take me to school. And I said, Peter, it's not that simple. He said, I know, but I want you to take me to school. And so I did some talking about Peter. I looked around about him. It turned out Peter was one of 11. He was the oldest of, I think, 11 kids. And he had taught himself English. Nobody knows how. So I took Peter from his school, and he came back to come to our school. You know, he said goodbye to his mother. His father was not in the picture, sadly. And he's now at the top of his class. He's getting the best grades. He's incredibly intelligent. And he's so thankful for everything.
Why do you have a shirt?
This is Peter's shirt. And this is the only article of clothing he owned. After this, we bought him a uniform for the school, and I bought him a shirt and some jeans to wear when he's not at school, and he started to cry because he'd never owned any other clothing. And he was just so excited to have this chance.
How cool, how cool. Well, just amazing, a great story, and a wonderful thing that you're doing, a big mitzvah. Boy, is it ever. I want to thank you so much, Aliya de Grazio, from Small Planet, Big Plans here in Chicago. I wish you much safety and much success back in Africa. And when you get started in the university, I hope everything goes well. I hope we'll stay in touch and talk again soon. And maybe you'll come back and tell us more as things progress over the future. That would be great. I want to thank all of you for being with us. Remember, if you want to check out our website, www.tvrabbi.com is the address. And you can also watch former shows on the web there. And if you want to email us or email Aliya, I'll be happy to forward your email to her. That's info@tvrabbi.com. And if you drop us an email or you want to know more about Small Planet, Big Plans, I will flash the website at the end of the show. Thank you, Aliya de Grazio, and thank you for being with us. Hope to see you next time right here on Tape with Rabbi Doug. Shalom, everyone.
Yeah, I'm talking about Rabbi Doug. Talking about Rabbi Doug. Talking about Rabbi Doug on your TV show. Well, he's the rabbi for me. Anytime you need, you're gonna get married or you're gonna die. Gonna see Rabbi Doug. Gonna see Rabbi Doug. Gonna see Rabbi Doug. Gonna see Rabbi Doug on the TV tonight.
This has been a Taped with Rabbi Doug production.